Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussions, news, and interviews, presenting The Film Scene with Illeana Douglas. Illeana is an actress, writer, author, and film historian with a need to discuss movies that borders on obsession. You'll learn the history of movies one great story at a time. The Film Scene is the deep cuts of movie podcasts, featuring movies we love by the people who made them. And now, Illeana Douglas.
Why, hello, it's Illeana Douglas. I love how I'm pleased at the sound of my own name.
You should be.
Welcome to the Film Scene. Jeff Graham, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to see you. It's been too long.
Good to see you, too. I know. Although we have, we had our last show in December, and now it's the new year. And we were just discussing how we're doing with our resolutions. I'm still dancing. I added a dance class.
Yeah, we were talking before air. Not only are you thriving with your resolutions, but I don't even know if I started them.
Oh, really?
The goal was to be a little more fitness-oriented this year.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm hoping is when I do, I'm just got a gym membership. So now that I have that, I have a financial accountability to make sure I'm going. So
yeah, there's nothing more embarrassing.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, I'm older than you, and don't fall out of your chair. I added a hip-hop class.
Oh, cool.
To my regime. So you will see me twerking throughout we actually did. There was some, I've done 2 classes.
Where are you taking it?
At a place called The Edge. The teacher is Ben Allen.
Okay.
Groove 3, y'all.
Nice. Drop that reggae air horn. I love it. Well, it's funny. We do a lot of dance coverage on this network. So we have a sister show called To The Point on this network, and they bring on a lot of young hip-hop dancers. So maybe you'll be the next guest on that show.
It is fast. That's I'm learning. It's fast, but it's super fun, and you got to try new things.
Yeah, I love
Jeff,
it.
It's the key. It's the key to not, to not getting old.
I'm proud. My wife, just to bring her in quickly, we're both trying new things this year, and she's very funny. She's a late night producer, but she's not as much on the creative end. She's a guest producer, guest booker, does a lot of that. Really keeps the ship running over where she works. But she is doing open mics this year, trying some stand up, and doing a pretty good job. So,
I know. You got to try new things.
Definitely.
So, just obviously, it's Oscar season. I've been looking at a lot of films.
Yes.
That is what I've been. Last night I was watching, short documentary feature. I'm watching that's my goal this year, is to see every single film.
Do you vote in every category or just the performance categories?
Originally you vote in I believe it's just I love how I don't even remember. Just did it a week ago. Originally, you just vote for actor, and then I think in the final vote, you vote for everything.
Oh, that's right. Nominations are broken down by their respective groups.
Exactly. Once the nominations are there,
everything.
You can look at everything and vote. Man, documentaries. I have to say, American Factory, incredible.
Great.
The Edge of Democracy. Great. I mean, these are some sad. The world is
uplifting. 2020.
There, Superman of St. Was a short film I saw. These are all great films. All the foreign films. There's a couple I hadn't seen, so I'm getting through all of those. So
I'm so impressed you watch all of them. I wish other Academy members would take note, because I feel like very few actually watch all of them. I don't know what you think, but
I don't know. I don't talk about it with too many other people. I just know that I feel as if, man, people work so hard on their movies, and I try to. Maybe I'm going to run into them. Maybe it's my Connecticut. What if I run into them at the store and I have nothing to say? So I always like to say, again, I like to be aware of everything and catching up. At Christmas, I caught up on a lot of television shows.
What'd you watch? Anything good?
I watched. There was some things I don't want to say because I wasn't crazy about them. But I'll look on I look at some of the new shows, just the network shows, just to kind of get a sense of what the networks are doing. And I have to say, it is strange. The network is really sticking in their rigid path.
Yeah, I think the problem with your theory is I don't know if the networks know what the networks are airing right now either. It's a very strange time for network TV because, there's the occasional runaway hour-long drama hit like This Is Us, but in general, it's such a bloody cancellation season with networks. And, I just feel like that genre of TV hasn't quite found their lane in the era of streaming. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's bizarre to think this universe where Fleabag exists, and then you look at some of the network and you just go, why isn't everybody watching Fleabag?
I know.
For whatever reason, why can't the network get a little edgier? But they just can't for some reason.
I think they're afraid to, and I don't know. I think the problem with network TV is they're trying to create a show for everyone, but in doing that, you're kind of creating a show for no one. You know, I think like if you're trying to hit every quadrant at all times, none of the quadrants are actually getting what they want because there's too much of everything happening, and it's kind of like TV to fold your laundry to nowadays. I feel, you know.
And then I was revisiting some shows that are going to be going off the air again, like Will and Grace and Modern Family, which I always loved.
I still love Modern Family. Yeah, it's still sharp. That show's very funnily written.
I think it is.
Yeah.
The performances are
it's great.
Are really funny, and
that's the thing, is a good network show can be great. They're just few and far between, I think. You know,
another great film on I think it's HBO, is the documentary on Luciano Pavarotti.
Oh yeah,
if anybody wants to see
Ron
that.
Howard didn't he direct that? Yeah,
very uplifting.
Great
film. A lot of dark films.
Have you seen the Pavarotti movie? He did one in the '80s, right? I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Yes, I don't remember it. It'll probably show up on Amazon Prime.
A romantic drama that he was in.
Like everything else does.
Yeah.
And some surprising films for me. Peanut Butter Falcon, I loved.
Great movie.
I thought that was so touching, and I hope more people get a chance to see it. Honey Boy, I thought was a very interesting film.
I'm going to shout out Ryan real quick. Peanut Butter Falcon is like one of his love movies of the year, and he got to interview those directors.
Yeah, it was so much fun. We had them in studio, actually, in the studio right here. They were Tyler Nilsson, Michael Barrett.
Oh, wow.
They were great. Such a joy, and I cannot wait to see what they do next.
I have a feeling if you wanted to have them on the show, they'd be pretty excited to come in.
I'd be thrilled. I thought the movie was, really terrific, and I watched Lighthouse. Oh my God, was that crazy?
Bonkers, but good.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever want to see it again.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
It's an
because
experience.
I like seeing movies again. But Willem Dafoe, we were on this other podcast that I cheated on you with Trailers from Hell with Joe Dante and Josh Olson, called Movies That Made Me, which is a fantastic podcast. We did the best of the decade. And I said, I find it so hard to pick, but I said, as far as actors go, I'm going with Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Because every film they're in, I'm just blown away at the variety of work that they have done. And Willem Dafoe is he's insane. He can do anything.
Yeah, I loved him a couple years ago. He was in the Florida Project, that Sean Baker movie.
That's one of my favorite films.
Really, really incredible movie.
Love that film.
Last 10 minutes will just rip your heart out. But it was cool to see him take a more empathetic, sort of less villainous turn, because he's really warm and sweet.
Very warm, very sweet in that film. And then he did the Vincent van Gogh film last year, which I thought was incredible. And didn't get a nomination for Lighthouse. I mean, again, I fear it's probably not a film that everybody saw. It is nominated for cinematography.
Oh, cool!
Which is astonishing. And it just looks like an incredible, difficult film to shoot. I don't know if did they just laugh because it was hard. It is hardcore. It's like The Shining.
Yeah, it is like The Shining.
It's got elements of H.P. Lovecraft. It's got elements of, New England spooky ghost story.
Kind of gothic.
There's got some homoerotica. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got a mermaid.
Yeah.
A mermaid in it. It was wild. That is a wild
I like
ride.
the comparison to The Shining. It's hard to pitch that movie to people. But I think saying, if you like the isolation elements of The Shining, you might enjoy the insanity brought about by isolation kind of themes.
I just feel like I want to see everything, and there are some movies I'm like, all right, I can't. Like there was a foreign film. I'm not going to mention the film, but in the foreign film category, I was watching the film, and they started hitting a cow, and I was like, I can't watch it. So it is odd. There are certain things I'm like, all right, you just lost me. I can't. I find that very hard to I just couldn't.
To stomach, yeah.
And even some of the documentaries that are very worthwhile, where they're about animals, I can't. It's too emotional. for me, because I see these movies. My friend Danny puts up with me because he's like, why do you watch these films? I watched Ad Astra before I went to bed. And I was like, I can't sleep. I'm devastated. He looked for his father and then he found his father rejected him. I was devastated.
Yes.
Did you see Ad Astra?
I know Ryan saw it. I haven't caught it yet.
Ryan, what'd you
Oh
think?
my God, I loved it.
It was great.
Maybe the most underrated movie of the year.
Yes.
The voiceover is
Beautiful.
Beautiful. It's one of the best dad, father-son movies.
I think
Oh
it's
my
great.
gosh.
Yeah.
I completely
And beautifully
agree.
shot.
Beautifully shot. I didn't know what to expect, and I just thought it was, wonderful. And again, if you balance it against Brad Pitt's performance in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's just something
It's had a good year.
really interesting. Okay, we got to get John in here briefly.
We do.
I am the show that I'm going to be on, Shrill.
Yes.
It starts airing tomorrow on Hulu, so I'm very excited about that.
It's a great show. I was telling Illeana before we went live, I would be watching it anyway because I really like 80. I like that show a lot, but
Yeah.
I'm super excited to catch you in it.
Yes.
Getting good reviews.
A new kind of heroine.
Yes,
I think,
absolutely.
that she is. So let's bring in John, who is John Caroll Lynch. He's like the character actor of character actors. Everybody probably remembers him as Norm Gunderson in Fargo, but he was also in the Drew Carey Show. He played the cross-dressing brother, Steve Carey, in American Horror Story. And everybody remembers, of course, Zodiac, Shutter Island, Gran Torino. You've been in every great film. I noticed you didn't mention Next Best Thing here. Also, the co-founder, and then more importantly, he made your directorial debut last year with Lucky, starring Harry Dean Stanton, which is an incredible final performance. Ladies and gentlemen, my pal, John Caroll Lynch.
How are you?
I'm so... Oh, and we got applause.
Wow, we got applause.
So nice to see you. And
Nice to see you too.
We were saying outside, I hope it's not true, that we haven't seen each other since The Next Best Thing.
I mean,
run into each other.
if we've run into each other, it's in a social circumstance.
Yeah. I tried to get you on my web series, but you're always working. You're
I try to work all the time. I try to be in everything. That's the key, is trying to be in everything.
One of the things I was reading about you, which is that's a terrible thing. It says that John Caroll Lynch plays characters that would never be invited to dinner.
Well, I mean, I've played a lot of people. I don't think I'd like to sit down.
Has anyone had a visceral, like when Zodiac was out? Oh my God, you were so brilliant.
Thank you.
You know what's interesting when you know people? I mean, you don't know them. I think I know everyone, even if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember in the 90s?
Yeah, you remember then.
We had
when we
sushi.
were, yes.
But when you came on the screen in Zodiac, I was like, oh, John's going to kill this. You do have a certain fondness, I think, for people that you've worked with.
Well, I mean, the few days we spent together on Next Best Thing were a blast.
Yeah, we
you
had
were the
fun.
best part of that job.
Thank you. You mean not Madonna?
No, it was a.
Madonna yelling. Constantly.
My brother-in-law's a comedian, and he has an adage, which is sometimes you shine your shoes and sometimes you show them off. I was definitely shining my shoes on those particular days, but I very much enjoyed working with you. We laughed well more than probably we should have.
There were great, there were some great things that happened.
Well, partly it was because the material was so dramatic,
Yeah.
it was it was overripe between the other people, and they had so much at stake. Like, the other actors were playing these culmination scenes in this courtroom, and
We're the lawyers.
and we're the schmoes who are coming in for like the 2-3 days, like, hey, how's everybody doing? Boy, you seem really tense now. It seems like this is now, and so you just can't help but find ways to release the tension.
The director was John Schlesinger.
Yes.
I got in the movie, and it's, again, like most of my parts, just like ran into him. And
That's nice.
I'd like it to be in my movie.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And I was like, absolutely, you know.
Sure.
So I always feel like I'm like you. I like to work, and you feel like if it's fun, it'll be fun. If it's bad, I'll have a great anecdote.
Yeah, there was particularly in that period of time when that was early on in my transition to Los Angeles. So to be in something like that was super, super exciting.
Yes, and as I recall, when we were on the set, because we shot downtown, right? Was it downtown?
Yeah, it was in that beautiful like Art Deco hotel near MacArthur Park. I can't not remember it. I later went and worked there again in a different room for an episode of Monk, for a ballroom. But it was also funny too. And when you think about it, sometimes the title of some movies should really they should think about it. Like, do you like movies? Well, this is the next best thing.
You're kind of setting yourself up for low expectations on that one, I think.
I think you're really well. It's the next best thing. This one.
Now, John, when you go into, I feel like you seem like you're cool, super cool. Like I go into a movie going, oh my God, I've got to get Madonna to like me. Like I'm so pathetic, or notice me, or talk to me.
There was. Obviously, in that particular circuit, it's Madonna. So we just met. I was her lawyer. We met on the day.
Yeah.
She was Benjamin Bratt was sitting next to her. I remember she had dogs. I remember she had a new puppy, so she was very focused on this dog she had.
Now, wait a minute. This is really weird, John.
What?
I'm the one who had the new puppy.
Well, you didn't have the new puppy because she walked down the hallway with a dog. Maybe we were talking about your new puppy when she walked down the hallway with her dog.
Maybe.
And I have to say, I have a thing.
Yeah.
Like in film sets, you can. Oh, I remember exactly what this was.
Okay.
The dog started walking down the hallway, and you're like, I have a new puppy, and I left my puppy at home. I left my puppy at home. I didn't bring my puppy to work. I left my puppy at home, and here's her. She's got her dog. I could have had my dog. So that's what we talked about.
In
the hallway.
I think that's what happened. Because,
yes, I'm sure that's what happened.
Because I had the puppy, and for some reason the puppy loved Rupert, and it was very, very little. It was a little white dog. And Madonna, this was when she was in her British accent.
She was married.
Stage.
I think she had just been married to Michael Ritchie. Wasn't she just married to Michael Ritchie at that point? She was living in England. And
Can I pet your puppy?
Oh, my God.
And she put her hand out, and I remember she had henna all over her hand. And I don't know if that's why, but anyway, the dog, it was just a puppy. But for some reason, the dog went, "Arr,
that's what
arr."
happened. I have a totally different story in my head.
That didn't go over well.
Yours is much better.
No.
But she, she did have difficulty remembering my name over the 3 or 4 days.
John.
It's a very unique name.
Just guess.
The same name as the director. After a while, you just have to understand that that's part of the deal. Is you can't get upset about these things. You can't take it personally.
No.
There's nothing to take personally there. There's a lot going on a film set, especially, and there's a lot. It's like this moving train, especially when you're doing parts like that.
Yeah.
Where you're jumping on an already moving train, and you're barely getting people's names down who have to wrangle you. There's always a group of very underpaid people, PAs, who are trying to figure out why isn't this actor where they're supposed to be.
Right.
They knock on the trailer door 15 times and there's nobody there, and you'd have no idea where they've gone, and they get in trouble for it, not the actor.
Do you feel like I feel this way sometimes? I know it sounds crazy, but there's more pressure when you come in for a couple days.
The worst, most terrifying job is one line, because there's not everything in acting is context. Everything.
Right.
I use this analogy sometimes. A person walks. There's a highway with a bridge over it. A person walks to the middle of the bridge and looks over. Is that person going to jump? Is that person going to drop something, or is that person just thinking? If you don't know the context, you have no idea what that person's doing. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming in with one line. And it's like, the first time I had ADR was on a movie called The Cure. And I had said one line, it was in a marina, and I had said one word, which my whole part was one word, which is, "Where are you headed?" said Brad Renfro to me. And I said, "Afton." Now, I have to go ADR this thing, and I've never even been in an ADR studio before.
Yeah.
And you good? You okay? And I'm outside. I happen to be in LA at the time, and I don't know why, because I hadn't moved here yet. And there was this kid, like a child actor bossing his father around, and his father was like Ed McMahon in the waiting room, and this guy, this 14-year-old kid was clearly the breadwinner and had all the power in this relationship. It was really surreal. And then, it's your turn. Okay, so I go in, and all of a sudden you're on a TV screen, and they've edited the movie, and you've got headphones on, and there's a beep in your ear. There's 3 beeps, deet, 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 and they say the 4th beep is silent, and you're like, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm trying to match my mouth saying Afton. I cannot do it. Like, deet, deet, Afton. Sorry. Deet, deet, deet. Afton. Like, I was late. So finally I just had to close my eyes and just guess.
Yeah.
I've come to enjoy ADR, but at that point it was just so surreal. You're seeing everything. Everything you saw on the day on your left is now on your right, and on your right is now on your left because it's not a mirror image. So everything is weird.
Yeah.
It's like a really terrible roller coaster ride. Watching yourself on screen.
Oh, very much so. Because you can't. I can't. You can't.
Awful.
You can you sort of barely remember any.
Mostly you don't remember.
Was it hot that day? Why is my hair so frizzy?
Well, I never have that problem. I never think to myself, why is my hair so frizzy?
Okay, we're gonna get to Zodiac because I love that movie.
It's an amazing film.
Before you leapt on the screen in Fargo, tell me about your experience in The Grumpy Old Men.
That was another one of those things that I didn't understand anything of what was going on. It was I played a moving man in that, and Donald Petrie, the director of that, kept on going, you should try to just stay still. I'm like, I'm totally still. I don't understand what you're talking about. And I realized after seeing the movie that my head was weaving around. It was like I was doing a bad blind person impression of someone who can't see and has lost their
That's
gyroscope.
Your first movie.
Very first movie.
Yeah.
And I go to lunch, and there's Kevin Pollak, and now sadly he died last week. And I'm forgetting his name, which is awful. Writer, a wonderful writer.
Buck Henry.
Yeah, Buck Henry. So it was Buck Henry and Kevin Pollak having lunch together, and I sat next to them, like they would care. And they weren't impolite or anything, but it was like they've been working together for a month or whatever,
right.
And they're also 2 of the funniest people on earth.
Yeah.
And while I knew who Buck Henry was from Saturday Night Live, I had not put together that it was this. I do this a lot. I had not put together that he was the same Buck Henry who had written everything.
Oh,
so I was just an idiot, and then later on I was like, wow, that was a really silly thing to do, to sit there and talk to them as if they would care, and they were so polite. And later on, I got a chance to be on Kevin Pollak's podcast once. He wasn't there. But we had a great conversation, Sam Levine and I.
He remembered, he said.
Yes, he did.
He said, I'm not going to be on
Yes, I'm not going to be on with that guy.
I always ask people, the first movie they saw, but you started out sort of in theater. But
the very first movie I saw was obviously when I was a kid, and the one I remember seeing for the very first time was Orson Welles, and the kid who played Oliver in
Mark Lester or Jack Wilde?
Mark Lester.
Okay.
The kid who not who played the Artful Dodger.
Yes.
The kid
Mark
who played,
Lester.
He played in a film of Treasure Island.
Interesting.
And it was for my friend Andy Solomon's birthday, and we all went out to the movie theater. Now that was definitely not my first movie, but that was the first movie I remember actually
it's a good
logging.
One.
I don't know if it was good.
Well, scary.
But it was, Orson Welles was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really scary and likely drunk. But, that doesn't take away from his scariness.
So did you have aspirations to be an actor or a theater actor or?
I thought, when I first was like, this is what I want to do, which was early on. I mean, I started wanting to be an actor when I was 14. I lived in Colorado, and I just thought theater was the only thing I thought about doing. I mean, I watched movies all the time. I would go see the same movie sometimes 25, 30 times. I loved going to the movies. I mean, I saw Paint Your Wagon probably 15 times. And
Paint Your Wagon.
And certainly I saw Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, both into the 20s. Amounts of times. And I loved going to the movies, but it never occurred to me that people were actually in them. That those were actually people. But when I started wanting to do theater, that's what I thought I would do, and that's what I thought I would do for the rest of my life. And I started acting in anything I could get in, community theaters and school plays and whatever else. Ended up going to school for it in Washington, D.C. at Catholic University, which had a good reputation at the time. The Kerrs had taught there, and a bunch of other wonderful people had taught there, but now it was their students teaching there. And it wasn't quite as good as the reputation, but it still gave me a lot of stage time, which is really what mattered.
So I want to go back to you. Did you audition for the Coen brothers?
Well, when I moved to Minneapolis because I got a job at the Guthrie Theater, and I had been there for quite a few years, and I had come back from New York after a brief time there because I'd been offered really nice roles for the season. So I got the audition first for Jane Brody, the local casting director for Fargo, and I would not have been seen in New York or L.A. for the movie. There was a tax credit at the time, so they were trying to get as many people in the movie to save money as they could. So I then read for John Lyons, and then I read for the Coens. So it was in that order.
And how do you read? It's such a sedate, yet strangely pivotal performance. I mean, I would imagine. See, that would be an audition would be very nerve-wracking.
You know, I don't think I knew enough. I mean, I knew who they were. Obviously, I was a big fan of their movies, but but the script was so clear. I mean, I remember sitting in the agent's office reading it because you couldn't take it home, and there were no emails then. So I sat in the office and read it, and from the first page to the last page, it felt like you were. Everything was in perfect place. Every word, every description, every scene was perfect. And then when I finally saw the movie, the thing that I didn't hear when I read it was how haunting Carter Burwell's score was, and how this juxtaposition of this humor against this really tragic sorrow of the music.
Yeah.
But I read this. I was working with a guy who was going to read for it, and he said, "You know, you got to read this movie. You're perfect for the husband of this. You know, you eat, you sleep, you're perfect." So I went in, and my wife is an actor, and we worked on the scenes, and she was honestly pivotal in me getting the part. And a very dear friend of ours who was working at the Guthrie, named Isabel Monk, had been Holly Hunter and Fran's roommate after Yale. They had all gone to Yale together. And I went to work the next day, and I didn't hear anything until I got home. And then I heard I got the part, and I came back into work the next day, and Izzy was like, "I knew yesterday you had it." And I couldn't say anything.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
It was really great. Yeah.
It was only one day?
I worked about 5 days on the film.
So it was.
Yeah, but it was interesting. They had to swap the whole schedule because the whole movie, as you can see from it, it's bathed in snow.
You're right.
And that year there was no snow in Minneapolis.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that affected the Beautiful Girls, which I did just right after that movie. Both of them were struggling for snow. So they swapped. It would be The Struggling for Snow by Illeana Douglas, a memoir. Anyway, they swapped the whole schedule. It was all supposed to be outside first and inside second.
Yeah.
But then it was inside first and outside second, and they actually had to chase snow to the Dakotas.
And in your early days like that, would you be aware of lenses or how? It took me a few movies to figure out, I can actually modulate my performance to which lenses that they're putting on.
No, I had no idea about any of that, and I had great advice from Jane Brody, the local casting director. She described it this way, and it was perfect, which was the difference between film and theater acting is this. When people go to the theater, they are themselves in a group of people watching other people perform, and they're aware of that. They're aware of the fact that they are watching another person perform with a group of people, that they are not alone. When people go to the movies, doesn't matter if the place is full or half empty, they're alone.
Interesting.
And that there is no psychic separation between the people on the screen and them.
Right.
They are in their heads. And that has been my experience. And what that meant for me going into that was any responsibility for broadcast, any responsibility for the audience seeing or hearing are no longer my responsibility.
Okay.
When you're doing a theater piece based on the size of the house, that's a big part of an actor's responsibility is to make sure the audience can see and hear what's necessary.
Right.
And now you're free of that. So what is your job? You know? And over the course of time, I came to understand that really what an actor's job is to create theme and variation that the director can then create a performance out of. But that took a long time to get to.
Fargo is such an exact movie. Like, I feel like any shift in tone in any scene could kind of knock it off the rails of what that movie's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
How did the Coens direct such specificity?
Well, they started with a group of collaborators that they'd worked with for, at that point, 6 movies. Roger Deakins was with them, I think, 4 movies before.
Yeah.
Like, they were no longer, in the Raising Arizona. It was after Miller's Crossing. I think that's when he started. And then, everybody, the costume designer, production designer, all of them had worked together.
Right.
And so there was no, everything was cohesive. Everything had been, had been acutely discussed when the actors get there. The script was clear in terms of tone, and then any variation on that, of course, Joel and Ethan are there to look at each other first, and then one of them to tell you what to do. I found it so completely clear what they wanted in terms of tone. And there was one moment in this first scene I did, which was in the police station where we're eating the Arby's. And I had a conversation. We'd gone to lunch, Fran and I, and talked about maybe how they met and what. And so I was listening to the conversation between she and her deputy, and I think it was Joel. Joel came over and said, "Yeah, you don't care about her work at all." I said, "Really?" Because we were thinking maybe we met her. "Oh no, you were no, you were never. No, this doesn't matter to you." And you go, okay, well, that's a choice, so I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then over the course of time, of course, I'm sure you do this too. If you're starting on your first day and that note is given, then it kind of ripples through the other scenes that you're working on. So
right.
I'm there at the smorgasbord, which I think was the next scene I shot.
Yeah.
Clearly, if he didn't care then, he doesn't care now. He's much more interested in the fricassee than he is in the,
I love that, though, because something about that makes it such a relief when we're with the two of you.
That's right.
That movie's such a stressful, violent film that just the normalcy of a boring marriage is so... It makes me emotional for some reason when I watch that film.
I discovered watching the movie was that he's safe haven for her.
Yeah.
He's never going to ask how was work.
Right.
He's never going to ask, so she never has to talk about the wood chipper.
Yeah.
She's safe in his world of little ducks. And she knows that's not going to change.
Right.
And it's this, and because it's Fran, who's extraordinary, it's such a warm relationship, and which is, I think, really unique to most of their films. Most of their films don't have such compassion between two people.
Yeah.
Most of them are people are self-involved and idiots. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Not to say Norm was the brightest bulb in the tree, but he was content with his life.
Right.
The movie's a classic. Were you ever thought of being a part of the television show Fargo?
I had a drunken conversation with Noah Hawley after they won
Yeah.
the Emmys.
Yeah.
And he was great. I mean, he was very nice, and he was like, "Man, I really want to. I want you guys to be. I want you and Fran to be the end of the show, like they just come up on them in bed." And I thought to myself, "Yeah, I wonder how he's going to talk Fran into that."
like Bob Newhart and Suzanne Pleshette.
Exactly. Well, I mean, with the jumping of the show, right?
Yeah.
With the jumping of seasons to,
Right.
that you could end anywhere you wanted.
Yeah.
And it's clearly the show is based on so strongly. It's like weird to see a movie turned into genre.
Yeah.
Like one movie turned into genre.
Yeah.
And now, of course, Stranger Things is and Castle Rock. They're all kind of taking worlds,
right?
Taking one thing and making it a world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an amazing writer. I mean, Noah Hawley's an amazing writer.
Mm-hmm.
Legion, which I just adore. I mean, he has such a fluidity to change the world that he's working in, and most people don't have that ability to write different, completely disparate things, and he does. He's really talented.
There's a lot of good stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving into Zodiac, unless you want to talk about being the cross-dresser on Drew Carey.
I mean, that
we
was
were
a
both
great.
on Drew Carey.
Oh, when were you? You must have been before
I played
me.
his girlfriend. I don't know again what year.
No, it would have been
say.
before me, I think, because we would have talked about it.
Yeah, when we did Next Best Thing.
Next Best Thing.
I loved it. It was such a surreal, crazy,
They're the. I mean, it was really
funniest.
such a. It was arguably the funniest cast I've ever worked with.
I think so.
I mean, everybody was funny. Everybody
did you
was
have
funny.
the thing like I did where it was like we would shoot the show and then they'd just throw it out and you'd they'd start adding jokes and.
Oh yeah, they did that every week. But it was interesting. I played this crossdresser and his brother, and there was a moment where I started. They had written a show where I start dating Mimi, and it was just like you could see that it was just a match in a bucket of gasoline. That the audience was like, "Oh, this is hilarious." Seeing Kathy Kinney dressed as Mimi and me dressed as Steve Carey. So there was a scene where we definitely went too far. We were on when you're shooting a sitcom, most of the standing sets are right in front of a camera alley where all the cameras are moving, and then behind that is where the audience sits. But the audience can look over the camera alley and see the actors act. But the thing is that it's a weird thing because they mostly look at the monitor.
Yeah.
And then when you need an additional set, it's called a swing set, and it's either behind those sets or, in this case, in this story, right next to the audience. So they're only seeing it on the screen. And we were supposed to be going on a double date, and it was Cynthia Watros and myself and Drew and Kathy Kinney. And I had a line, they were snarking at each other, and I had a line that said, "I hope I'm not wearing the panties of a woman who's going to behave like that all night." Which is comedy gold. I mean, it's perfect. It's a perfect line. So I say that line, and the audience goes, "Oh." You hear it like they're like, "Oh no, I didn't want that in my head. I didn't want that image in my head. No.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So obviously, we end the scene, and then there's this pause while the writers kind of come together, and it's like, so that's cut. So they cut it, and then they did testing and realized that people were just unhappy with the dresses in general. They didn't like the idea of it. It made them uncomfortable. Jump forward, I don't know how long, but on 30 Rock, Will Forte plays a character who dresses exactly like Jane Krakowski. They're lovers.
Yeah.
She's a narcissist that's perfect for her. And they do a variation on that exact same joke 15 years later, or however long it was.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Totally fine. Everybody's okay with it.
I love the Drew Carey Show. It's funny. I never see it in syndication.
There's something about the deal.
Oh.
I think there's something about the deal that hangs it up. It's like, a friend of mine, Dana Delaney's got a great show, China Beach. They can't put it on streaming because they didn't buy the rights to all the music.
Oh, okay.
So they only bought the music network rights, and nobody wants to fork out because it's everything. So there must be something about it that people.
The cast was
contrast
amazing. It had like a kind of when they asked me to be on it, they were like, "You would be on?" I was like, "I love this show. It's got an Ernie Kovacs kind of surrealistic."
Yeah, absolutely. They figured out. I mean, early on in that show, that was like, "Oh, it's a circus.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just going to do a circus."
Yeah.
And everybody was on board for it, and they just had the funniest group of people. Craig Ferguson could walk on and be 3 minutes of funny anywhere he wants to be. Everybody was great. It was and I was on an irregular schedule, so I was on the show as a lot. I mean, think about it this way. That show was on long enough for me to have done 74 episodes of that show, and I wasn't on a third of them.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
They did that for 9 years.
I know. It's a great show. I love the Drew Carey Show.
I think they should put it. They should figure out whatever contract problem it is and put it on whatever the Warner Brothers streaming service
It was a gem. It was a gem.
We were
of the
talking
show.
about network before we went, just the state of network TV, and it was kind of a weird show, like especially for a multicam. And I feel like multicams now are so safe; they're not really for anybody anymore. And you could tune to Drew Carey, and you knew it was gonna be hilarious and also kind of strange. That's what I liked about it.
They just broke the form whenever they wanted to.
Yeah.
A bear driving a truck, whatever they needed.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was because they just realized that worked for that cast to do it.
Maybe.
People building houses in the middle of the park, whatever they needed to do. And it was never intended to be real in a way, and so in that way, everybody was kind of in on it. Also, I just think it had a unique kind of whimsical sensibility, but a dark heart.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. I had so much fun doing that show.
And it was about Cleveland.
And it was about Cleveland.
Middle America.
It was about Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the reasons why people didn't quite understand what to do with it. Like the network was kind of ABC was a little bit shocked that it was so popular.
I'm from Cleveland, and I think it nailed the sensibility of sort of that, passive aggressive darkness. Like I think we all treat ourselves like multicam shows, but deep down we're a bear driving a truck. Like I think that's the show just nailed it.
That's interesting. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, let's get to Zodiac. First of all, did you audition for it?
Yep, auditioned for it.
He auditions people a lot, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I auditioned for him once, but I think he auditions as many people as he probably is allowed to.
Yeah.
He's a very exacting person, and I very much enjoyed that part of working with him. A lot of people get frustrated by the meticulous quality and the repetitive nature, but because I'd come from the theater, that didn't seem to bother me at all. And when I sat down with those three gentlemen. Marty Lodge was a guy I knew before I met him in D.C., but he played my boss in that scene. But the other three, Elias Koteas, Mark Ruffalo, and Anthony Edwards, it was a dream. I mean, we did that scene for about a day and a half, and all of us were fresher at the end of the day and a half than we were at the start. Because it was so much fun to work together. Right. It was every little nuance that anybody threw in, everybody responded to, Fincher gives excellent acting notes. So, I know that I've heard that he likes to exhaust people and all this other stuff. I don't know anything about that. You work for somebody for 3 or 4 days. What do you really know about their process? I didn't have the circumstances that Mark did or others on the movie where they're on from the start. But I really enjoyed the process of working with Fincher because I thought he kind of mastered all of it. Like he understood every job on the set. including mine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why wouldn't you want to work with somebody like
Well,
that?
the movie manages to be so many things. It's a thriller. It's the look of it. I mean,
Gorgeous.
The music.
Yeah,
It's
everything.
so ominous.
And it's really a meditation on obsession, on the virus of obsession, and how it destroys everybody it touches. You know, the Zodiac has an obsession. Everybody who gets attached to it, Toschi and Graysmith and everybody, and Downey's character, who I can't remember at the moment. All of them, have a moment where they're trying to chase this obsession down, and they become obsessed with it, and it crushes them.
Is there ever a feeling when you're on the set that people are, treating you like a crazy kid? Do you ever worry? You're like,
people,
wow, you really are sick. Because if you could play that, you must be sick.
People are. I mean, I've just frightened people. In the airport. I've turned the corner, and they don't know necessarily why. There's been that feeling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, I've played a lot of. I have a lot of sociopaths on my resume. But the thing was, I couldn't get seen for sociopaths for a while because I played such nice people.
Right. Yeah.
And they were like, he doesn't really.
Interesting.
He doesn't have an edge. I don't see it.
What is the key to a sociopath? Like you see somebody like. Jeffrey Epstein, just his face alone scares me. But
well, he's a person who clearly walked around, and if people did know that about him, either, obviously people knew it who were close to him, but but he's a predator, and so you've got to hide. I mean, if wolves don't just stand around.
Right.
They hide themselves till they pounce. And I mean, that's part of it. But the other thing is that when you're playing characters like this, I think to accept the fact that I am utterly capable of any human evil you can name. I'm capable of all of it. And accepting that about yourself is part of the way in which you have to do that. To do those characters.
I think another reason the movie is so scary is that, unlike Silence of the Lambs, there's no release. So you're just freaking, you're just like, the whole movie is it's so nerve-wracking.
And to write a movie where you don't, it's just unsatisfying. I mean, the only time you have that scene with Graysmith and with Lee Allen in the hardware store. And if you watch the scene, the tracking shot that brings it in, Graysmith is looking around for him. Has his kid in the car. And he pulls over, and he's like, I got to see if it's him. And he goes into the hardware store, and he's looking around. It's a very good, beautiful close-up of Jake, searching. And then in the tracking shot of his point of view, it says on the True Value hardware store aisle, your featured item. That's what it says. Your featured item. And as it passes, Lee is at the cashier. That's what it says.
Yeah.
And then how do you play that? And it always seemed to me that it was the same thing as the end of Moby Dick, which is after Ahab is wrapped up. Speaking of a treatise on obsession, he's wrapped in the ropes of the harpoon, and he's going to die. He's trying to stab the whale to death, and it says, and the whale rolls over, and Ahab looks at the whale, and the whale looks at Ahab. And that's what that scene felt like to me.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I like that.
They recognize each other. They recognize the obsession in each other.
Wow. Now I want to see
Should
that.
end the show with that?
I know. I want to end the movie. Okay, another film I got to talk about because I love Albert Brooks so much. Looking for comedy in the Muslim world. I love that movie. And again, it doesn't get as much play as...
Well, I mean, for whatever reason, it just didn't. No one saw it.
Yes.
I mean,
it's a tough subject.
I mean, he was a blast to work with.
Yeah.
He was exactly, and also, one of the things about him I like is he really wants to tell you have the job to your face. Like he wants to give you the job. So I had auditioned for him, and then I'd come over and read the script because he wouldn't. I mean, there's only one copy of it,
right?
And he had rented a house, and there was a room, there was a chair in this room, and it's like go in there and just you read it. When you're done, we'll talk. And so I'm reading the script, and you see like the sliding door. Everything okay? Yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's really good. Yeah. Where are you in it now? Like he was so excited to have us read it, John Tenney and myself to read it. And it was really funny script. And then he offers you the job. He's like, I want you to play this part.
Aww.
And I love the fact that he gets joy from hiring actors.
Yeah. I would think that if somebody does that, you want to give 150%.
Exactly. No, I mean, you're on board. You're on board. And it was really fun. I got to see the Taj Mahal. It was really fun. And John Tenney and I, at one point on a weekend, we all decided to go to Jaipur. And I was a late addition, and somebody got ill. And I was, I'll take their spot. And we get there, and there was no rooms available at this very posh hotel outside of Jaipur. So John Tenney and I, they said, well, we have one double room available. Oh, that's fine. And they were looking at us like, what? Okay. It's okay. And we went away to Jaipur, and we come back, and we discover it's the honeymoon suite. They've taken the two beds and kind of put them together, but not like changed the bedding. So there were two single beds just shoved together, kind of like, well, I mean, you guys will figure this out. We're not making any judgments about how this evening is going to go.
Oh, that's funny. Did you learn anything from comedy from Albert Brooks?
Just being with him is fun. He's always funny. And also what I love is that he's so brave when he's shooting. He's such a, he'll say this himself, he's such a fraidy cat in so many ways. Like we were waiting for the train when we had finished the scene with the Taj Mahal, and there was an ice cream store in the thing. And I said, I think I'll get some ice cream. He said, no, you can't. No. I said, but your sound mixer's having ice cream. He said, well, we can replace him, but you're established, so you can't have any ice cream. No. And I said, what are you going to do when you get back? I'm going to bathe in Purell. I'm just going to get a big bathtub and put Purell in it. So he's very frightened. But when you're working, he's just utterly courageous. A train that was not part of our set comes in. He goes, let's use the train. So like suddenly we're like pushing people back on the train so we could have them come off when we do. It was. He was just crazy. He was fun, really fun.
That's amazing. You've worked with so many incredible people. It's like every time I name someone, it's like the tops. So now we're going to top that. Clint Eastwood, Gran Torino.
I had this summer where I got to work with Clint Eastwood and Martin Scorsese.
Oh, in Shutter Island.
Yeah, so I went from one to the other, and
not a bad summer.
Oh, it was a really nice summer. Clint, as everybody says, is exactly as described. Again, he's worked with the same people. The women who were cutting his hair had cut his hair since Rawhide. Wow. Like everybody had worked with him forever.
Yeah.
Tom Stern, the DP, was the camera operator.
But again would seem very unnerving to me to enter that environment.
It isn't, because there's just the train is pulling the same way. That there are many experiences where you're working with a bunch of people, and it feels like everybody's at cross currents,
right?
Especially early on in a movie set. Like there's a lot of potentially competing agendas.
Right.
And when you're working with masters, there is no assumption that anybody is there except for that reason.
Right.
Like if you're going to work on a movie where David Fincher, where the auteur is David Fincher, or it's Martin Scorsese, or it's Clint Eastwood, there's no pretense on who you are in service to.
Right.
And I think that actually just simply helps. Because you're all pulling in the same direction.
What about, do you ever find yourself like, if you are doing a scene and you're like, damn it, it just didn't start out right, would you deliberately flub or do something wrong?
No, but I now am in a place where I feel the fluidity of it in such a way where I know I can just back up and go to wherever I wanted to go. you know?
Yeah, I
Like,
always feel like that's. I get scared to do that.
No,
like
I don't do that
I go
anymore.
through the whole
Yeah.
thing and I go, God, that sucked. So I need to.
Yeah, no, I just
it
like.
again,
I
or-
mean, I mean, it depends on the circumstance. Obviously, there's some things you just run all the way through. But if you know what the coverage is, that's the other part. You know, you mentioned about how does your understanding of the process change over the course of working on it, and
Right.
you begin to realize that, oh, there's things that I can do. I don't have to like in this particular setup. I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm holding the coffee cup anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's off screen. So now I know that what I'm working on is simply. I don't have to worry about those little kind of physical signposts anymore. I can just follow follow the pearl of the scene.
Do you ever have directors that are intimidated by the people that you have worked with? Because I would imagine, again, like, you know, I've had people do that to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
When they get nervous.
I don't know about.
Like they think I'm judging them, and I'm like, I'm just thinking about lunch. I'm not even thinking.
Yeah, I don't know that I've experienced that so much.
I've experienced everything.
But maybe because I mean I don't know. Maybe just because I'm obtuse and don't notice it. That's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't think of it. The people I've gotten to work with, really, honestly, most of them are like for 5 or 6 or 7 days. You know, it's not like you spent. I mean, there's some people I worked with over time. Like I worked with on Looking for Comedy with Albert
Yeah.
Brooks for the whole run of the picture. So I was there the whole
That's
time.
like a dream. That's my fantasy.
Yeah.
Can we go back in time and?
And we'll do that together.
That would be my fantasy.
You just have to learn Hindi. That's all you have to do.
Easy.
It's not a problem. Children do it.
Just hang
Billions
out.
of children do
It's true.
So the same. Okay, we're going to get to Lucky, but I'm again the Founder. It's another great movie with a very
love
strange
John.
tone.
Yeah.
Interesting movie. More interesting than it needed to be, I think.
Really? What do you mean by
I
that?
think sometimes you expect a biopic like that to just kind of hit the beats of. I mean, Michael Keaton's always magnetic, so that.
Yeah.
But I just think I watched that movie on a plane, expecting it to be kind of a plane movie, if that makes
I
sense.
see what you mean. Yeah.
And then it was much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, John Hancock, he's deceptive, I think, as a director. He is one of the few people working now who accepts a popular tone to the movie, but always has a theme that he's working with that at one point or another he's going to punch you right in the mouth with it.
Right.
And like in Saving Mr. Banks, I get goosebumps every time I think about the end of that movie where Walt Disney says, "There isn't a day goes by where I don't think of old Elias Disney with a belt in his fist."
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's why he has the Jell-O mold of Mickey. That's why he has all those things. So he gets you to the moment where he hits you.
Right.
And in The Founder, he does the exact same thing. The scene in the contract room at the end of the movie, and particularly the last moment of Ray Kroc, where Ray is looking at himself and knows he's a liar. And there are very few actors, in my opinion, who are able to do what Michael did in that movie. He's really fun to work with in a lot of different ways, but I really gained a great admiration of the desire for subtlety inside an actor who can play Beetlejuice.
Right.
I mean, like, he's working. He's trying to find the smallest piece of. He wants to stand it on a knife's edge, and he does in that scene.
Did you? Is it a movie since your adversaries that that you hang out on set, don't hang out on set?
I've never really been a.
Hanger-outer?
No. I mean, I love being on the set. I just have never. I've never found the value of creating a psychodrama outside the work.
Right.
To work now, I know people really do that well.
Yeah.
And maybe it's simply because. Maybe it's simply because I feel like I'm just, that I don't need to add drama. Like I like to be a person who is value added and is no drama to work with.
What about nerves? See, for my own nerves, sometimes I sort of take the temperature of people that I'm working with. Like, okay, he likes to be left alone. Okay. All
Well,
right,
I think you feel that and you just adjust, right?
Yeah, this person, like you said, Fran wanted to talk about. So some people do.
Yeah.
I sort of I'll put out feelers as to like what they
I agree. No, and I think it goes back to what you were talking about how you felt about our working arrangement.
Yeah.
That there were cross currents on that set,
right,
that were hard to maneuver, and the Madonna of it,
yeah,
one of the world's greatest pop stars, is making a transition to a serious drama. She's got those issues.
Mm-hmm.
Schlesinger is, herding cats with her and with Rupert, and he died very soon after that film.
They killed him.
He was so.
They killed him.
I felt. You felt his exhaustion, right?
Yes, he told me about it. He was telling me about it.
I didn't have those.
I always have that. I'm why am I the one that everyone's? He was very. I think it was more than he.
He had bargained.
Here's the man who did,
come
all
on,
these great movies and Midnight Cowboy.
Incredible.
And,
yeah.
So many great films, and now he's like, getting yelled at by.
Yeah. And I just think that you begin to learn how to kind of surf those and try to get the work done inside of it.
Yes.
Because the truth of the matter is the people who are number one on the call sheet and the director and the cinematographer are the three people who create the weather on a set.
Mm-hmm.
They create the tone of it. They create the feeling. And if you're not one of those people, it's likely you should try to have a raincoat and layers, just in case the weather changes. But you shouldn't try to grab the You shouldn't try to grab the weather machine.
What about anything for preparation? I like to use music. That's a big thing with me. In my trailer, I listen. I find it very hard. Believe it or not, I'm not on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm not on email. I cannot do it. I'm there. I'm in my trailer.
Yeah.
I'm maybe reading things.
Yeah, I try to keep whatever I'm doing, I can't be sucked into.
Yeah, I admire people that can laugh. Sorry to interrupt, but that can laugh and just go, and now I'm doing the scene. I need to sort of stay in the rhythm of the scene. But
I think there's some truth to that for me, depending on the circumstances and the type of material it is. Play is an important part of a lot of the work, allowing for a feeling of fluidity, a sense of moment-to-moment life, off screen as well as on. So in that way, I like keeping that alive somehow. But I've found too, emotional scenes, particularly to me, and this is going to get really weedy, but I think you'll understand what I mean. The hardest scenes for actors to do are ones where they're caught by something inside the scene. That the scene is driving a particular direction, then something happens, and it cracks open, as particularly when it's a deep or a deep grief or emotion.
Yes.
If you're telling a story where the grief and emotion is underneath it, that's easier than if you find you're telling a story and then suddenly somebody says something or something happens or you're supposed to catch something that changes everything.
I find those to be the hardest.
They're the hardest scenes to do.
There was a movie I did, Meyer Lansky, with Richard Dreyfuss, and they have to. The door opens, it's the day player, and they have to come in and say that the baby, we've lost the baby.
Yeah.
Like, that's the hardest.
Yeah.
Like, you're laughing, you're joyous.
Yeah.
The door opens.
Yes, that's right.
Day
That's
player, absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
In fact, the first one, they was like, all right, they're off. They actually brought in a different, can we get, and I said, maybe if you brought somebody else.
Do you think we could have someone else bring the news in? I mean, look, I don't.
Those are impossible.
That part is impossible, but
pick up the phone,
to
you ever had
create that moment.
Bad news on the phone.
Bad news on the phone. But anything that's created where there's a crack that changes everything, information that changes everything, is the place that's most difficult to arrange.
Yeah.
Because you don't know you can't know it's coming.
And
so how do you do that?
And so what do you do when you're on the set? I find, again, I just need, if I look, that is those weird things where they go, he's in my eye line, can he not be in my, and people say we're nuts and stuff. But sometimes, again, when you're doing these very intricate things, the camera's moving in, it's going to be a big close-up, you got to hear the thing, and you kind of just need no distractions.
I think that's true. There's something that happened to me a few years ago that has changed kind of all of that for me, which was I started to think about why the energy of concentration had to be so high on a set versus a play. Plays, obviously, there's a lot of concentration needed because you're writing something from beginning to middle to end. You are telling the story as a group. But I started to think about why is it that I can, like, for example, if the play is Glass Menagerie, why am I okay with a 1936 or 38 apartment in St. Louis? Why am I okay playing Tom, but knowing that I'm stage left, so my right foot has to be behind my left foot, and I need to make sure that I'm 3/4 to the audience, and I know that acoustic panel is best for me to bounce my voice off of so the back row can hear it.
Yeah.
Why can I make all those adjustments for the audience, and yet I struggle to make an adjustment when the camera comes close or when... And I began to realize that I was wasting a lot of energy trying to create two different realities on a film set, which is one that didn't include the crew and one that did.
Right.
And I was like, what if I treated it like I do plays, where I'm in a courtroom with you, and which I did not know at this time, but I'm in a courtroom with you and with everybody else, and the crew is there too. And all of it's exactly real, just as you're trying to play it, except I don't have to worry about whether or not the camera's this close, because I assume there'll be a camera.
Right.
The character will assume there is one. I don't know if that makes any sense, but what happened to me, it released a lot of unnecessary energy.
Yes.
And allowed me to focus with my collaborators in mind, as opposed to trying to ignore them.
Yeah.
And I think that also had a lot to do with transitioning into directing, because I had been wanting to direct for a long time, and I had been fascinated by why does one director or another director or co-directors, how do they create the atmosphere of a movie? How do you do that? I mean, what belongs on screen in what order I became more and more fascinated by.
Well, so that leads me into Lucky with just an incredible actor, Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah.
And so tell me about it. The project. Was it specifically written for him, or?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was written with not only him in mind. It's the weirdest kind of thing, delightful, but the weirdest screenplay, because it not only was written with him in mind, the character is inspired by him. So it's not Harry, but it has the same philosophical bent as Harry did, and also it actually shares a biographical information from Harry's life has been transposed onto Lucky's journey.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird movie that way.
Yeah, it's got that culmination effect of like Paris, Texas, and all the other movies that he's been in that you sort of think of as
the movie is unfolding.
And you've got David Lynch in it, and Ed Begley, who is their friends,
very close friends. Yeah.
So tell me about so I read a little bit about your first day of set. And you said you were glad to see it. Oh, we love Ed Begley Jr. What a doll.
Ed
Seeing
is terrific. Ed is terrific.
How could you be nervous?
No, I mean it was very. But the camera was rolling, and I simply didn't realize I was supposed to say action. Like, that's right. That's my job.
It's the big moment.
Harry's sitting on the chair in the medical room, and he goes, "Is somebody going to say action? I mean, it's why you did the movie, right? I mean, that's why you're here, right?"
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." But when you're in production as a director, at least in my one experience of this, it's like the bronze is heated and you're pouring the bronze into the mold. You don't have time to be precious about your own feelings.
Right.
You really can feel the time of every day, every moment, and trying to use every moment you have to get what you need later.
And did you do storyboarding and all of that beforehand, or read-throughs?
We did one read-through, with Harry, that was kind of a backers thing. But we also, I did as much storyboarding as I could afford to do. It was a very low budget film, so I wanted to see if I could try to make the movie as many times as I could before I made the movie.
Definitely.
So because I think that's a really crucial part of it, is to ask yourself the questions: what belongs where, so you try to have a sense of what the audience is thinking and feeling at any individual moment. And you're really, I mean, what I understand now, and I hope it changes when I get another opportunity. I hope I figure out what I learned. But is that you're really making the movie for inside somebody's head. You're making the movie so that they're watching it and they're experiencing something, and you're asking yourself while the editor's working, how long do I want them to think this? Like, how much time do I want them to consider this thought before I send them to the next thought or feeling? That's what becomes so hypnotic about the process of doing it. It's really fun, and you get to work with the art department, and you get to work with wardrobe, and you get to work with people and have really great conversations about the world you're creating. And that was true in that. And it had, I mean, the screenplay was wonderful. So that was made my job a lot easier. And the Harry of it all was both a joy and a terror, because Harry was hard.
He's an that's the word. Irascible seems to be invented for him.
And he was him. I mean, he was utterly and completely himself throughout. And he has this. He had this ability to be on screen that is unparalleled, I think, in terms of the quality of his being on screen. Amazing.
Was there anything when you're filming an actor like that who's an icon that you're thinking, what is it I really want to get out of him that maybe I haven't seen in another movie, or do I want to exploit everything that Harry Dean represents? I mean, I would certainly say, again, in the scene, watching him and David Lynch on screen, it's very moving just to watch them.
Yeah.
So again, you're there on that day and you're like, well, how do I not screw this up? Or how do I not over milk it? I don't know.
I think you're just, I think you're, in my experience of that, there's so much to do. So much, you know how much time you have and how much material you have, and you really don't have time to worry about anything else. And David came in beautifully prepared, great choices, was a soldier, and I was absolutely humbled by the amount of respect he gives the director's chair. He was great.
Yeah.
And Harry struggled. It was at the end of the shoot. He was very tired, and he was really struggling, just with the sheer amount of material he had to deal with day to day. And there were many times where he became quite despondent with himself, because I think he felt pressure with David there. He wanted to be good for David. And so much of my task was to offload his anxiety and keep him focused on, and do my best to keep him focused on what was needed for that individual, just that individual shot. And a lot of the conversation was about, don't worry about the next thing. Don't worry about it. Just stick right here.
Right.
Don't focus yourself on thinking, I've got all of this to do today. Just let's get this.
It's interesting. The lesson that I learned from Marty was that you'll worry about 1,000 things and try to fix 1,000 things, and then it's the thing that you don't think about that is actually the thing that comes up. And so in a weird way, you can't prepare. Like, you prepare, and then you go, oh, why didn't anyone know we were in a flight pattern?
There's always going to be something that you didn't expect to happen, and there's always going to be something that people throw your way that are surprises. And the fact that it happens to somebody with the resume of Martin Scorsese, it makes it all the more charming an attempt to direct anything at all, because something you can't expect is going to go wrong. And certainly that happened with us in many different ways. Like we had to do all those walking scenes in a very short period of time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Harry was 89. And it was 15 or 20 degrees hotter on the day we're shooting it than on the day we prepped it. So now we've got an 89-year-old man walking 4 miles, at least 4 miles. And that's just from frame to frame. Wow. For 7 hours.
Yeah.
8 hours. And there was another great moment of that where the arch in the movie was in one location.
Right.
And the garden in the movie was in a completely different place.
Oh.
And I get from the art department, from Almitra Corey, like, everything about the garden is different than it was. Like they had to tow a car out of it. They had to, it was all these things that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
And you just go, well, okay, by the time I finish this 6.5 hours, and we've got that much left to do, while the sun is, while we're losing light,
right,
and Harry is on after 4 miles, Harry is exhausted. Let's see if we can get that. And then on the way home, we drove Harry back and forth, and we tried to make it a 12-hour day no matter what. Mm. And we spaced out the schedule, so he never worked more than 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. So we had very few shooting days, but we just scheduled it. So we do 2. We started with 2 days, and then we went to 3, and then 4, and then 2, and then so we just kept it as loose a schedule as we could. On the way home, he got a flat tire. The car got a flat tire, and he had to work the next day. And we're like, well, okay, we'll just figure that out. And both Tim Scherstedt and I both had food poisoning.
Oh, God.
And you're just like, okay, I know where let's set this up. I'll be in the trailer shitting, and then Tim will have to go.
Oh, my God. That would be my fear. You would be ill. That would be about you're physically ill.
You don't think about it. You just know you have to get your day.
I was telling you before air that I love Lucky so much. And I'm not just saying that I really think it's a special film. It feels like an ambitious first movie to me. It's kind of tonally ambiguous, and I don't know, I'm impressed that for a first film you managed to play subtlety. Was your instinct ever to over-direct, or did you feel like you had to pull back? Because the movie, to me, feels deliberately ambiguous so often. I don't know.
I mean, leaving space for the audience to decide things was in the screenplay, and it was clear that the questions of reality, in some ways it's a what do they call it? It's kind of a romantic reality in some ways in the movie. There are times where you don't know whether or not what you're watching is real or not real, and leaving it in a world where the audience has to decide what they're seeing is true or not true was part of the joy of the journey. But that kind of goes back to asking the question, how long do I want somebody to think about this particular thing? Mm-hmm. And then how do I change the subject? Mm-hmm. But the thing that was wedded together in that screenplay was the foundational aesthetic of the actor that's the lead, which is a kind of baseline being that's what you're playing in. And then the screenplay itself was, of course, part of his life, which I think was the hardest part for Harry, was I'm using my own life in material about a character that isn't me, and I'm an actor who has foundationally said I don't act. So that was his aesthetic, foundation was I don't act. And then how do you direct a person who doesn't act in material that's about their life and isn't about their life? Because Lucky is a completely different person than Harry.
And he's 89. And how do you not get maudlin thinking, this is the last time I'm going to see? That's your film, and he's a lead. It's his first
and he's the lead
lead
since Paris, Texas. He had 2 leads in his life, Paris, Texas, and that. But I know that for me, because I'm a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and being diagnosed with cancer is a very clarifying moment. And that's one of the ways in which I experienced, in my own small way, some understanding of the clear-eyed nature of Lucky's life.
Mm-hmm.
That Lucky is under no illusions that what's going to happen next.
Right.
And he's put in touch with that at a time in his life, Lucky is, that most people should have thought of it a few times before that. And he has, but this might be the last time he gets to think about it. About, okay, I really am. This is no joke. I'm really close. It's not next week. It might be tomorrow. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm 56. My father died at 87, and that was a pretty good run. So if I'm fortunate, I got 31 more years to choose stuff. What does that look like? If I'm fortunate. And you don't know how long you really have. So those feelings about the screenplay were what drew me to the material, and decluttering the frame, decluttering the movie, letting Tim's work in it, letting the frames hang, was in the DNA of the screenplay. The writers and me we had long discussions about the kind of 70s nature of the material, and how that's the movies we were making. You have conversation about. If you're going to have a row of DVDs, where do you want this one to slip in? Like, where exactly? Between what movies do you want this one to slip in? And it's Last Picture Show, and it's obviously Paris, Texas, because you can't send Harry out in the desert without thinking of Paris, Texas. You'd be insane to do that. You have to accept that you have to kind of decide where in the panoply of movies do you want that to go. And those movies make no muscular choices. They don't draw attention to the viewer. Whereas a movie like, Michael Ritchie's work, for example, Michael Ritchie always draws attention to where the camera's going. He tells the story with a really athletic eye.
Heavily edited.
And it's necessary. Right. He's not wrong.
It's
about
choice.
And it's what his sensibilities are.
Right.
So, the next time I get to make a movie, what will that tell me about what I like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm working on some material. I'm working on a variety of material now, and I think what's drawing me is how do you create movies with characters important to me because I'm an actor, so that's where I'm drawn. And then what's the theme of the movie, and how do you boil that down to human size? Like, it's not something out there that's being affecting like the world. It's something that affects us right this moment. Like, I don't know if you've seen Dark Waters, but Dark Waters is a movie like that, where the theme of the film it's not outside those people's lives. It's inside those people's lives, and it affects them. And I am so impressed by the movie because he's a filmmaker that has made really gorgeous, really opulent, textured movies, and he just decided, nope, none of that's going to work for this. I'm going to just throw away everything I've ever done.
Right.
And do a completely different movie.
Yeah, and it's a social movie, and I've been writing something about Martin Ritt, and Martin Ritt is the director that nobody does Martin Ritt movies anymore, like Norma Ray and HUD, and that were about working class people, and so Dark Waters had that sort of social significance.
It did, and it also, it's aesthetic choices. I was at a film festival with Lucky, and David was there, and he was doing a talk back for the first 2 episodes of Twin Peaks, and I was in the audience listening to him. Why wouldn't I be? And this woman asked him, I just love The Elephant Man. It's my favorite movie. It was so different than the other ones. Could you tell me why it's so different? And he doesn't answer anybody's questions. Like, he's great at it. He's a genius at I'm not going to tell you what this means. But he said, well, it's a different story. And so it needed different things. So I told that story in a different way than I told other stories. Yep, that was pretty much it. And it's true.
Right.
Like, not, the sensibilities of what Lucky required to tell the story were those things. And if I try to tell another story in that way because that's what I'm comfortable with, then I'm not honoring what the story needs.
Makes sense.
And also what your collaborators need.
Right.
Because what's Harry's stock and trade? Being, not even realism. It's beyond. It's like I mean this in the most praising way. He had the presence of a dog on film. Like, there's nothing else going on when he's on. Even when you watch him in, I think it's Godfather 2, and he's just sitting behind somebody.
Yeah.
He's the one you watch because he's just present. And it was also oddly unfair. We had a stand-in. We set up the scenes with the really graphic light in the movie, the red alley. And the shot looked really good. Tim set it up, it looked really good. And then Harry came on, and it looked gorgeous.
Yeah.
It just, there's whatever light did to his skin. It just didn't seem fair. It was so beautiful. It was suddenly so beautiful.
Yeah.
Was he happy with the, what was his reaction with seeing himself on
Never
screen?
saw it.
Oh, interesting.
Never saw it. He wanted to see it in the big screen. He fell ill. He wanted to see it on the big screen. He didn't want to see a screener.
Something very poetic about that.
Yeah, and also, he seemed to be a guy that didn't really care. He would rather watch a Lakers game, honestly. Lakers games and game shows were really that's what he'd rather watch.
Yeah. Well, goodness, this has been amazing. I can't think of anything else.
You know what I'd love to ask? Our audience
Sure.
loves American Horror Story and the whole Murphy verse.
I know, I never even got to that.
The Murphy verse.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a term or not.
I love it. That you should.
With so many shows,
Murphyverse.
it feels
That's
like now
really
he does
terrific.
kind of have his own. But I know this isn't an eloquently phrased question, but just 2-3 minutes on your experience working with Ryan Murphy and, sort of entering. Obviously, American Horror Story is beloved. And just if you could just speak to, just give us a sort of behind the scenes picture of the experience of working, maybe even the most recent season, 84.
You definitely serve at the pleasure of Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk. That's what you sign up for.
Right.
You don't know where it's going. I'm sure, it was funny. I worked with Leslie Grossman this season, and Leslie seemed to know everything. And I was like, how do you know? Oh, I just call him. And I was like, you just call, he's got 8 shows on the air. When does he have time to talk to you?
Yeah.
But she figures out a way to get the information. And to some degree, I don't know if that I enjoy the mystery of being on the show a lot. I enjoy it. And he's always, in the circumstances where I played larger parts, when he called me and said, I want you to play this part, he was very clear about what the overall was going to be. And he paid it off. Mm-hmm. And I've never been on a crazier journey than the last season of this show of 1984. I've never experienced such a broad canvas of material that requires me to be as violent and as oddly heroic in all of those things, and how it's earned in the writing. It was a real tribute to the writing staff, and also a real tribute to the crew, because they work so hard, and it's not an easy show to do. It has film ambition, and it has not enough time, and those two things, chew people up, and yet people come back over and over again. And partly it has to do with the fact that Ryan is one of the most impressive directors I've ever worked with. Now, I only worked with Ryan directly on the first episode of Freak Show, on the first 2 episodes of Freak Show. And after that, I was I mean, it was other directors, but his hand is always in. And I said this year, I don't know where I said it, but I said, it feels like they choose a genre and then they really do the research and then they kind of intuit the story from it. And apparently I was completely wrong. And, and in print, he corrected me. He's like, I knew exactly where this was headed. I guess I just never asked. I didn't do what Leslie does. Like, what's going to happen next? What are we doing? Where is this going?
Right.
I kind of feel like one of the joys is to be surprised by each script, and that boy, man, there was a lot of surprises for Benjamin Richter, a lot of them.
It's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, I wish I feel terrible. I can't. It's too scary for me to watch. It's too scary.
It's very scary.
I don't blame you at all. I mean,
I
that's
feel terrible because I try to watch everything.
Is really funny.
Okay.
It's sort of the 80s
really
slasher.
Fun.
It's more fun.
Yes, I've seen more of that one because I try to sample everything. I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Well, I mean, you have to, right? Now that you're asking people to come on the show, you really do have to see everything.
Scary things are. It took me years.
What do you think that is? Do you think it's just you take it into you and you can't let it go?
I dream about. I mean, like I literally, I was watching sad documentaries last night, and I had to go to the Food Channel, and
it was too much.
Get a glass of milk, and maybe because I'm an act. I mean, I really.
Take it in.
I really take it in. I'll have nightmares about it. I'll be up. I'll be it'll stay with me for years. Sometimes Silence of the Lambs took me years to see, and I had to see it during the day.
Yeah.
I had to be able to go out of the room and,
Yeah, it's I don't horror wasn't interesting enough. Horror was never my genre. I never really go to them because partly I walked out of The Exorcist. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. Like I don't need to see the rest of this.
Yeah.
And there's been other films like that I'm just like I don't really need to see that because I don't want it in my head. But doing it is different because it's so crew dependent. And it's so much fun to work with the special effects department and everybody. I love doing them. They're really fun.
I feel terrible, like I'm gypping myself, but it's very hard. Horror for me has always been a challenge. And I was saying at the top of the show, there was a documentary and they were hitting an animal, and I said, "Okay, that's it." I said, "I can't do it.
Well,
it's too upsetting."
You know what would help you? Doing some.
Oh, if I actually...
Because, then, you see somebody stabbing somebody. Like, I stab a lot of people. I stab a lot.
Stab a lot of people.
I don't know why it is.
That's
a lot of stabbing. There's a lot of stabbing.
A lot of stabbing.
Anyway, you stab pieces of wood. You don't stab people. You don't stab people. It's all in the camera. You're not stabbing anybody. Gratefully, except for the one guy, and I mean, it's all over. The lawsuit's fine. It was just the one time.
And you're working with the blood. I only did one horror movie, but it was like a comedy horror movie, and that alone, we had to kill Kevin Pollak. He was covered in that candy.
Yep, blood. Yep.
It got on everything. He had to be in his underwear for 2 days. He couldn't change to be in the sticky.
Yeah, not good. That's tough. That's some tough work right there.
I know the stabbing
in
probably
your
better.
underwear covered in Cairo syrup and red dye.
But that was my only, and we were in a, you're in the basement and it's dark.
That's the part that's always funny. And here's another one that's always funny. It's like, I don't know about you, but whenever you have to run in a movie, it's like, why am I always wearing dress shoes? Like, why is it? Can't I get some trainers on when I'm running? Because it'd be a lot easier if I wasn't running these boots.
No,
never, because it's not dramatic.
No,
if you're ready for it.
And at night,
it's not dramatic.
And it's raining.
Yep. It's always something.
We're here in the rain.
These people with their story ideas that aren't convenient for actors.
Come on.
That's all I think of is like, oh my God. Like when I was watching, did you see The Lighthouse by any chance?
I have not. I really want to see it.
Okay, it's the whole movie is rain.
Yeah.
Sheets of
rain.
And I was thinking, oh my God, by day 20. All right, well,
apparently they did a lot of drinking on this show.
It was needed. I was like,
you should be
torrents of rain. That they were soaking wet. I'm sure
all the time.
The whole movie is them. It's fun. It's a really.
Yeah,
it's
I
almost
heard
like a
it's really
play.
great. Yeah.
It's there's some very. Did you have any favorite Oscar movies this year?
Well, I mean, I wish Dark Waters had been nominated because I really
Yeah.
thought that was a tremendous film, and I'm trying to think of what's on the list that I really like.
Did you catch Parasite yet?
I've not. I've got.
Really
I
good.
owe a lot of them. Got to be honest.
Yeah.
I owe a lot of them. But I thought my brother really. I mean, I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But my brother had a take on that, which made it all the better.
Yeah.
Which was, people are upset that he changes history as he's done in the last 3 movies. So why should people be upset? But my brother said it's like they had the Hollywood, meeting before making the movie. Like, yeah, we like this whole thing. Like, let's do a movie about the Manson family. But does Sharon Tate have to die in it? Like, can we come up with something like something else where Sharon Tate doesn't have to die? And the director goes, yes, we can totally do that, and we'll put a dog in it.
That's funny. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. It'll be interesting. But there's an interesting variety of films.
Yeah.
Going on, and it's too bad they all come out at the same time, and then some movies could, you discover them later. Unlike me, I think I've seen 78 movies, because they're all on my portal.
On your Academy portal.
On my Academy portal.
What's also funny is you can only vote for actors the first round.
That's what we said at the top of the.
You don't get to vote for anybody.
But at the end, you can vote for anybody.
For everybody, yeah.
So that's why I said I feel good. I'm trying to watch I'm watching every single film this year.
Good for you.
I've done it. That's because I'm also not working.
Well, I'm gonna get to everything on the list in the next week or so.
Yes.
That I have a lot of things I owe, but I really liked, for example, I thought Bombshell was terrific.
Mm-hmm. Those performances.
Great performance.
Yeah.
You could have been in that movie.
Old white guys white guys who are molesting people, absolutely.
That was.
Why didn't they call me? They got Lithgow.
That could be your niche.
That's my niche.
To be there's a whole bunch of others.
Yeah.
That are on the horizon. That
Yeah. Well, I got to do this movie, Trial of Chicago 7, Aaron Sorkin's movie. That was another historical thing that I think is going to be really great. The screenplay was terrific. But I love to play people who aren't molesters and who don't kill anyone.
Or
cross-dressers. I'm okay with that.
That's what he wrote. You play characters that would not be invited to dinner.
Well, I mean, including one in the invitation where I really shouldn't have been invited. That's true. If you have not seen that movie, you really should. That's a great
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's a really good
okay.
movie. Yeah, it's
cool.
It's a throwback.
Uh-huh.
It's a throwback 70s kind of movie.
Well, like you said at the top of the show, you're working all the time. You're like the Lee J. Cobb of our
the Ward Bond. The Ward Bond. Yeah.
The Martin Balsam.
The Martin Balsam. I'm very happy to be. I like to work.
Me too.
It's a joy to work, and I'm So if anybody's got anything, just send me.
Me too. It's been 10 minutes. I would like to be working and when you get to travel, like you said, you get to see. You saw the Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
And you're hanging out with Albert Brooks.
Yeah.
That is my life.
Well, your season drops tomorrow, Illeana. Don't forget.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Shrill, this show we shot up in Portland. That'll be on. They do the whole season.
That's the whole thing drops
on what streaming service?
On Hulu.
On Hulu, and it's the whole season. They don't let
That's
you
what they do. That's what they do these days. These kids, they just
binge it all.
And for New Year's, I started. It's so queer. I started a hip hop class because I'm that kind of person.
I love it.
I did doing something new.
I love that.
I'm horrible, but it's funny. It's good. I'm in there. I'm in there. I'm not giving up.
Off camera, when my brother saw Lev Parnas, he saw that whole thing, my brother started writing a hip hop musical starring the two main characters of Lev Parnas and Igor.
There you go.
And they're like, how do we make some money off this whole Trump thing?
Oh my God, he's my favorite character. First of all, the hair alone.
The hair alone.
And he's got the sad eyes. As soon as I saw you, I said you should do the
Lev Parnas story.
Another person not invited to dinner.
Great. Yes.
All righty. John Caroll Lynch, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Jeff, great to see you.
Great to see you, Illeana. And John, thank you so much for coming on. You're welcome back whenever. Just to mention it one more time, guys, Illeana's show, Shrill, just dropped tomorrow. I'm a fan of the show. Anyway, it's really great first season, really interesting, smart, character-driven show on Hulu. And we'll be back next week with Tia Carrere, which is really exciting.
Tia Carrere?
So,
nice.
Yeah.
We've got her, and can we mention who else?
Yeah.
Coming up?
Dee Wallace is coming up.
Nice.
Early February. So
I'm so excited.
Off to a strong start, yeah.
We're getting all the great people. And as we end our show, we always like to say everyone's life is like a movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is the end of our movie and our show today. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. So long.
Thanks for tuning into the film scene with Illeana Douglas, airing exclusively on the Popcorn Talk Network. We bring you this show for free because we're just as passionate and borderline obsessed with film as you are. And it would mean a lot if you would please subscribe to our podcast and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It takes 5 minutes to review the show, but it helps other film junkies find the show and continue to spread a love of classic and contemporary film. For guest inquiries or live bookings, you can email me, Jeff Graham, at guests@AfterBuzzTV.com. That's GUESTS@AFTERBUZZ.com. For more incredible film content, check us out online at The Popcorn Talk, and we'll see you after the credits.